And welcome back to Wildsunne Art Studio. My name is Robinsunne, and I am very happy to have you here with me to celebrate day 12 of our 16 days of Art Studio Valentine Love. Today we are making a pennant banner. Let's see what you can see. Valentine-e. Valentine. Will you be my Valentine? So let's talk about how to make this luscious little being. Let's do that with it. So can you see mostly? All right. So here's where we start. I made a triangle that sort of seemed to me to be the best size. Also, this is a piece of 8.5 by 11 paper. So if you're working with A4, you're going to get something a little bit different, but not too different. Kind of tried to work it out. Anyway, this distance right here is 3¼ inches. So, and this distance, how tall it is half of an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. So then I just measured back and forth, and I could get 5 across, which means that doubled a piece of 8.5 by 11 cardstock, red cardstock, could give you 10 little pennants. And Valentine is 9 letters. So that worked out great. You could put somebody's name in instead, or I love you, or whatever you want. But anyway, so this is how I got to this size. Once I had a stack of red pennants, I glued them onto a, oh, wrong glasses. I glued them onto a purple backing paper. So then I could do an echo cut. Which means, oops. Kind of like that. And then I made a little tiny, a whole bunch, 9 paper cuts, and I put them, glued them sort of starting at the top. Although some you will see I made them a little taller and they end up going over the top. And then I needed to make the letters of Valentine, and I wanted to talk to you about free cutting letters. Now, I've been doing this since I was a teenager or something. So if you do something for enough years, you get a little ease and finesse with it. So let me teach you the helps that I have learned along the line. The first help is that if I cut each, and you'll see that this is how big these letters are. They are in, I looked this up. Did you know that the way the Americans measure is actually called imperial measurement, and it comes from a law passed in Britain in where was it? I wrote it down so I would remember. 1824, I think. Oh, here it is, 1824. And then the rest of the world deals with metric measurements. But the U.S. measurement is actually something that came from England. So there we go. 200 years ago. Anyway, back to letters. Most letters in the alphabet, A through Z, are pretty much this ratio, 1.5 inch to 2 inches. I mean, you can make them wide letters or really tall, skinny letters, anything you want. But for the most part, they're a little bit taller than they are wide, unless you're making a special font. There are 2 letters. I learned this from my years doing typography for a business forms company. There are 2 letters that have a smaller width ratio. That's the letter I, which makes sense, and also the letter J. You can see a J really not needing any more room than that. There are also 2 letters that need a wider ratio. Now, can you see this? I did this in pencil. There, if I hold it here, you can see it just fine. So most letters, A, B, C, D, E, R, S, Q, T, U, V, but not W or M. They have an extra wide value, and all the rest of the letters are normal. So I and J and M and W. So there we are for that. So 1.5 by 2 inches is sort of our standard. So I found that if I cut out a standard rectangle for each of the letters and know that I need to fill this space with the letter, it gives me sort of a grip on what I'm designing for. So let's do this. 1.5 inches by 2 is most letters. 1 inch by 2 inches is I and J. And 2 inches by 2 inches is M and W. For those of you in the metric system, 4 by 5 centimeters is most letters. 2.5 by 5 centimeters is I and J, and then 5 centimeters by 5 centimeters is M and W. So if let's cut these out so we're really clear what we're doing here. Now, Valentine has an I, but it does not have an M or a W. So actually, we won't need that. So there's a regular sized letter. So when I draw that letter, it'll have to pretty much take up the whole space. And I often make eyes without the serifs, you know, on top and bottom, the little line across, which is actually, that I don't think that's a serif. That a serif is something else. Anyway, whatever. There's our M and W, there's our I and J. So when I make an I, it's actually a fraction of this. If you want, you can practice by drawing this out. And the first practice, of course, would be to use a piece of scratch paper and you know, draw out your letter right here and then cut out the scratch paper and trace it onto, flip it over and trace it onto the back. But let's try doing a letter. I'm going to do R for Robinsunne. So we want the letter to have a little heft. Actually, let me use a, this is 0.1, that's not very black. What have we got for pens? 5B.3, let's try using that. Now, can you see that? I think you'll be able to see that. So of course you would be doing this in pencil, but this is just so that you can see. So let's just draw ourselves. This is not very dark. Oh, here's a blue Sharpie. This is going to bleed through on the other side, but this is just to give you an idea of how to do this. So we're going to write backwards. And I'm going to write an R, because that's my name. Okay. Now I think we need to have some heft on the riser of the R, right? And then we'll sort of draw. Now I'm going all the way to the top of the card, all the way to the front. And then we want this width to be this width. So it's kind of sort of like that. And then if the leg of the R comes down to meet the corner, and we want it to have the same width as this, there we go. Let's give that a quick cut and see what we think. So the thing is, once you start doing this for a while, drawing it out and then cutting it, at a certain point, you can see it. And without drawing it, you kind of get where the letter is going. And you can cut it out without drawing it. There's a famous story about Michelangelo would... there we go. Now this is imperfect to my eye. This is about as wide as that, but up here, it's not as wide as that. There's a little bump there and a little bump there, but more or less. That's a pretty good R. And now we're going to do one for you, and because your name is you, because I haven't met you yet, so you'll need to have a stick in the middle. Now here's another thing that makes letters look great together. See how the bottom of the top bubble of the R comes down to about here. So we're going to make, how do I want this Y to go? We could make it come into the corner. I guess that's the best idea. And a stick for here. So if the top half of all the letters kind of come to the same place, the E stick and the F stick would come across there, it just makes it look like we were paying attention when we designed this alphabet. So there's Y for you. And Y is a great letter. It's like O, it's the same frontwards as it is backwards. O and X. Now I've got my rising part of the letter a little wider than the parts of the Y. Sometimes we need to do that. Sometimes that will make the other part of the letter look funny. So I'm cutting these a little bit wide. R, Y. Robinson and U. And let's see, when we make a J, we go this way. So if I'm drawing it backwards, I'll draw it like that. So the story about Michelangelo, when he was carving these beautiful big angels out of enormous pieces of marble, people would say, how do you do that? How do you like only carve away the stuff that's not supposed to be there, and you don't like, you know, make a nick in the angel? How do you know the shape of the angel when you're carving? And he said, I imagine what the angel looks like inside this stone and the shape that they're standing in or kneeling in or whatever. And I only cut away the parts that don't belong to the angel, which is kind of what we're doing here. Not to say that I'm as good as Michelangelo, but that's what we're doing. We're just cutting away the parts that aren't supposed to be there. Ridge. And then we could do M2. This one I think I will draw. So I'm drawing. Okay. Drawing the right side and the left side. And I want it to come down to the middle. So we're going to have to go a little wider than that. And then we take this distance, come down, and then that distance out, about like that. Ridgm. So there's our word for today, ridgm. So this is how we cut letters. And if you have any problems with this at all, I often see little kits of stencil letters at Walmart. And you could sort of flip them over onto the back side, draw it out, take out all the little spacey things that they do, and then cut that out. I know that they come in pretty small packs, so we would be able to figure this out in the pack. So where are we? Oh, right. So we've got our paper cut and our triangles, and let's put U right in the middle. So there's that, and then we would need to take our hole punch and punch. Let me show you. There's a punch here and a punch here, and what I did to then connect the letters to each other is my ribbon was 16 inches long, and it's just a little tiny skinny red ribbon, So I put these down and I put my metal tape on top of them because it's really heavy. And then I tied them together. I made sure that these two were a little distance away. And then whoever I send this to, and I haven't decided, oh, actually, I think I have something in mind. I mean, someone in mind to get this. Great. Okay. So when I send this, the person can hang it up on a wall or across a doorway or something like that. Ta-da! So, my dearios, I hope you have a lot of fun making this. Look, it sort of makes a circle. A Valentine circle. There we go. I hope you have fun. With getting ready for Valentine's Day. Today is the 12th, so Valentine's is only 2 days away. I hope you have fun making all your preparations for your dear one. And I hope you are taking some time to make at least one Valentine for you. I wish you a happy, sweet day thinking about people you love. And I will see you tomorrow with another. So silly. I have a really fun idea. I kind of made this up. I mean, it's an old idea, but I put a little Valentine tweak on it. So that'll be fun. And I will show you tomorrow. I'll see you then. Bye.